When we talk about the paperless process for a classroom, you got to keep in mind that a paperless process is more like a collection of processes or tasks that need to be done, because a classroom is a complicated, messy place where there's a lot of activities and different types of tasks that need to happen, especially in a multiple subject or elementary school classroom like what I teach, where you've got math, science, social studies, English, reading, writing, art, music, all sorts of things throughout the day that have different needs, different purposes, and different activities involved. What you really want to think about when you're thinking of paperless process is basically two parts. One is the content consumption or the delivery of knowledge. How do students get the knowledge and acquire knowledge? And then the other, equally if not more important part, is the productivity aspect of things. What do students do to apply the knowledge to show what they know and to create authentic products and media? I've set up a website here. Now this can be a good way to have everything sort of centralized in one place, and to streamline, to make things faster and easier for your students, is to provide a website for them. It's always a good idea to have a class web page, regardless of whether you're paperless or not, just to communicate with students and parents about what's going on in the classroom and to keep them up to date. What we have here is, this is our school website. It's through a company called School Fusion, which is now owned by Edline, and it's a content management system so that it automatically creates websites for your classroom rather than you having to create it yourself. It sort of pre-formats it and lays it out for you. And so I'm using that to provide information for my students and my parents, including all of the links. Now links can get very lengthy. You can get a lot of different links, so I've got them broken down into different topics here. Here's our project-based learning science activity that we did, and then under each plus you'll see, if you click on it, a whole slew of other categories underneath each one, and I've got these broken down by topics and sort of by themes as well. We have quizzes on here, so students can take quizzes and have them be graded. That's one great big benefit of one-to-one computing devices, is online assessment really cuts down on grading time and really speeds up the process for students getting feedback on how they did and being able to adjust that. I've also created repositories of web pages. So one thing people think about when they think of content is having access, especially when we're talking about technology now and one-to-one devices, having access to videos. Some people like to call it flipping the classroom. So for example, if I want my students to be able to easily have access to information about Buddhism and Buddha, which is our social studies topic at the moment, I've created this little web page repository that they can use to access YouTube videos without having to go to YouTube. So this way I don't have to worry about them getting off task or finding the wrong videos and the wrong content on there, is to make a little video repository. Now some people like to refer to this as flipping the classroom. You can provide tutorials or videos for students to access outside of school and then spend the time in school using that knowledge or applying it. So that's one aspect of how content can be accessed. Tools like that, as well as if we do look at our math links, for example, there's lots of tools like the Khan Academy.
Hi, this is Sal Khan. I just wanted to welcome you to the Khan Academy, where you're about to embark on your own personalized learning adventure, where our system is going to really customize according to your own needs.
So students could, of course, go straight to Khan Academy and log in and search for these things, but I try to make it smoother and faster and easier by providing the links directly to those topics and organizing it so that they're only focusing on the things that we know they need to focus on. But the great thing about Khan Academy is they're not limited to that. If they pass it and they do well, Khan Academy and tools like that will allow them to move forward and even become an advanced level and cover topics that we would never normally even have a chance to cover in my classroom. So that's a really great differentiation tool and allows students to move at their own pace, their own speed. There's lots of things out there that can be adapted and adopted from existing curricula. So for example, in our growing up theme stories here, I've found resources online such as an e-word game provided by the textbook company itself, and Quia and Quizlet are two sites that provide various games and activities. So for example, you see matching, flashcards, concentration, word search. Sometimes these sites require Adobe Flash or Java to run, so it's going to be best to access these from a Mac or a Windows computer, such as what we're using here. This is a hybrid running Windows 8. Or sometimes they'll work on Chromebooks, but a lot of times they may or may not work on tablets.
Urgency. Buggy. B-U-G-G-Y.
So this is another way that we're taking something that used to be done on paper, such as with flashcards, and really enhancing it by making it timed, making it competitive, making audio-visual supports involved, and really taking it to the next level through technology, even though it's the same types of tasks that we would have done with paper. But one thing that people really think about when they think of paperless content is they think of ebooks. You can get ebooks right now without even having to pay anything extra. A lot of times they're included with your curriculum that you've already adopted, that you already have the textbooks for. You can get the exact same content, which means you don't need to worry about the Williams Act or whether there's equitable resources for your students. You can give them the exact same resources they would have on paper and do it electronically without any extra work on your behalf. So for example, here we've got our social studies textbook here, and the formatting you can tell is a little bit different because it's basically presented as a website. So it has the same image, the same text as you would find in the actual ebook, but there are a few bonus features. For example, if we click on keywords or vocabulary words, they'll pop up with a definition, and you can even play the audio for it.
Citadel, a fort-like structure.
And so this is a nice feature that really makes the book more accessible to students, especially if they have difficulty with reading. And you can see here there's a play button that plays every single portion of the book.
This year in 2500 BC, leaving the land dry for too long.
And so you really have this support tool for students that need it that you wouldn't normally get from a paper book. Otherwise, it's identical to the paper book. In this case, all of this is basically just an HTML page. It's just basically like a website. So you could get to this on pretty much any device. If you do want some of the multimedia features like the audio narration, if you notice I right-clicked on it and it says about Adobe Flash Player. So this one requires Flash if you want to hear the audio narration. Otherwise, you could use it on any device. If you want to get to the narration, you would need Mac, Windows, or a Chromebook to do that. Some ebooks are better than others. Here's one that's pretty nice actually. The Hsp Math Ebook is very full-featured. You can jump straight to various units and topics. So for example, if we jump to this chapter, these are the exact same pages that match up with the textbook. But if we were to go in there, you can see that it's got the same play feature, so you can play the audio. Now again, the text may be visible on any device, but some of the features are going to require Flash. For example, if I want to play the audio, once again, if I click on that, it says use Adobe Flash to play the audio. But there are some very nice features built into this. For example, if you see this little button right here, you see it says iTools, and I can click on that iTools and get virtual manipulatives that can be used right with the book. See it open a new tab here. We've got a virtual manipulative tool that can be used, just like you would use fraction bars or some sort of manipulative made out of paper or out of plastic or cardboard, but you don't need to buy those, you don't need to pay anything for them, you don't need to worry about distributing them or cleaning them up at the end. So this is a really nice feature to have, again, simulating things that would be done in the analog or manual world, but doing it digitally. And so this is where ebooks really shine, is when you can incorporate not only the original text and everything you would get from a paper book, but extra tools to make it more accessible. Not only the play buttons to make the audio narration happen, but there's an intervention tool here. Mega Math is for games and practice. The intervention actually pops up an intervention feature, which will allow students to have self-guided practice. And you can see it has audio narration, and it just guides you through step by step exactly how to do the process. And so this is a very similar idea to Khan Academy. One benefit is that it's tied directly to the book itself and the practice problems, as well as having guided practice, independent practice, and then a quiz that you can take at the end to test your abilities. So this can be a great tool, and it's all part of the ebook. Again, this is one of those multimedia features, so it does require Flash. So you need to make sure whatever device you're using will allow Flash to run on it, which is part of the reason I chose this Windows 8.1 tablet, hybrid tablet, as a feature to be able to access all these types of tools that are free and come with our curriculum. Now, in my opinion, being a producer of content or creativity is more important than being a mere consumer of it. So a big part of our paperless process revolves around various ways to apply knowledge through creation of products and media. I have to say this is really where it helps to use a hybrid device like what we're using here. Hybrid meaning that it can function as both a laptop and as a tablet, because there are some things that you'll want to do where a keyboard and a mouse and being able to access all the websites online really come in handy, and that's where a laptop shines. Whereas there's some other features that a tablet can be beneficial for, especially one with an active digitizer pen like this, where you got this fine tip and it really makes it so you can do handwriting and drawing tasks. So I'll go over the features of why you may want to look for a versatile device like that that's very full featured. One big piece of our paperless process is using Google Docs and Google Drive. Now, this is a popular solution for schools right now, partly because some schools are getting on board with Chromebooks, but pretty much any device can use Google Docs or Google Drive. You don't need a Chromebook to be able to use this feature. And what it is Google has provided 30 gigabytes of free storage space for all students and teachers at schools, and they're built-in tools, which is kind of like Microsoft Office. They've got tools for creating a variety of different documents, such as documents, presentations, spreadsheets, forms, which can be handy both for surveys and for even making quizzes, drawing tools, which are very limited and basic, but they do allow for some collaborative drawing. And you can install additional tools over here. These are not Google ones that I've created over there. So these may not be accessible to all students. You'll have to look at my Chromebook caveats video to see more about that. But the great thing about this is students can create documents and answer questions directly online. So for example, instead of writing something on a worksheet or a piece of paper and handwriting it out, they can hone their keyboarding and typing skills that they're going to need for the future. And we also practice those by going through a link on our school website to a tool we have called Typing Master Online. And Typing Master Online is an online keyboarding training program that we've spent money to get a subscription for. Keep in mind, keyboarding and typing documents is now a standard. It's required as part of Common Core standards. This is the way the world is now. I can provide documents directly to students to sort of give them a framework or a worksheet to work from, but instead of having them write it on the worksheet, they can go to our files here, and for example, here's our reading and writing files, and they can open up the correct category and download whatever they need and then upload it straight to their Google Drive. And so, for example, I can provide them a Word document, for example, this Gary Soto document. They can learn about the author Gary Soto. I'll just go ahead and right-click on it and save the link. Save link as, and I'll tell it where to save it. I'll call it Gary Soto, okay. And what this did is it saved a document file. Now, when you have documents, the cool thing about having Word documents and Microsoft Office files is you can then upload them directly to Google Docs. Let's go ahead and find it and upload it. And since we have our settings set to convert documents to Google format, what it will do is it will take a Microsoft Word document and it will convert it to a Google Doc. So this is an easy way you can provide documents to your students. There are other ways to do it as well directly on Google Docs, but if you have files that are already in Word format, you don't need to worry about changing them to this because you can provide them and upload them directly and Google will convert it for you. So for example, if I wanted my students to do this document, I could provide it and have students work on it individually and independently, or they could work in pairs or teams and work collaboratively on it. So we got our basic questions here, and here's our website link here. Now in this case, it didn't make a link, so I had to instruct the students to go ahead and put a space there after it. And you'll see when there's links built into it, you can just click on them and go straight to the website. So this is a good tool for doing online research and for document creation. Now you got to keep in mind, there's a few things I want to say about Google Docs because they're not a panacea. They're not going to solve all the problems. For one thing, I want to point out that they're really designed to work best in a laptop or computer format, not on tablets. It's not very fun to type up a document or even just use Google Docs, even like a spreadsheet, on a tablet. This tool is really a lot like Microsoft Office, and as such it works best with a mouse and a keyboard. So whenever my students are using Google Docs, spreadsheets, or presentations, they make sure to use their keyboard, and they also usually choose to plug in a USB mouse. I leave that optional for them. Sometimes they can use the pen to get some of the same things done as a mouse can. You can see the pen. If you look carefully, if I hover it, you can see there's a cursor there. It works a lot like a mouse. It's not like a capacitive touch pen stylus. So essentially, our devices are set up as laptops, not tablets, when we're working in Google Docs. I also want to point out Google Apps are not equally useful for all subjects or tasks at school. It works great for doing online research, where you can go to a website and you can look around and you can find information and you can read, and then you can switch back and you can type up what you want. So it works great for basic writing tasks or for online research tasks, but it's very limited when it comes to some things like artwork, music, or writing down math formulas, science logs and journals, or sketching solutions. Even better than just being able to make artwork on the computer, students can actually take any worksheet that we normally would have provided them on a piece of paper and can do it right here digitally, electronically on the computer, and upload it or submit it to the teacher and store it for themselves in Google Drive. For example, on our school website, I provided these Mars tasks for students to download in our math files. So they can simply click the link for those Mars tasks, load one of them up. So for example, let's say we wanted to load up this nuts assignment. And this will show them a preview as a PDF file. So anything that's a PDF will show up on the screen. Now, this is a web browser, so we can't just write and draw directly in there. However, students can download that file onto the computer, and then what they can do is they can work on it directly in Reader. Now, Reader is an app that's built into Windows, and this Reader app allows you to open and view any PDF files. It's a free PDF viewer. You can zoom in and out, pinch zooming. And here's our assignment. The circle graph shows the amounts of 5 different kinds of nuts grown in the U.S. throughout the year, and it gives you clues about them. The 5th type of nuts is hazelnuts, but we need some clues about the other ones. A quarter of the nuts are walnuts. Most of the nuts are almonds. So we have some clues there. There's the biggest slice. So if I know the biggest is the most, I can start labeling this. And you can write and draw directly on the screen using this pen. Now, if you have a pen that has the eraser button at the end, you can also erase it just by spinning it around and using it just like an eraser, where you can just slide it right across and erase what you've written there. And you don't have to worry about your hand touching the screen, because use of this kind of pen it has built-in hand recognition, so as long as it detects the pen, it won't detect your finger. And in this case, your finger can't write on it anyway, even if you wanted it to. It says a quarter of the nuts are walnuts. So you can go through and start filling this out just based on the clues you have. And this is an example of where writing and drawing really comes in handy. You're not going to get the same benefits from just using Google Docs or a keyboard or a mouse. Being able to have digital virtual worksheets actually allows you to completely go paperless. Anything you would normally be able to do on paper, you can do this way as well.